I'd like to call the Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship Commission meeting to order for Friday, June 23rd at 8:05. So we do not have a quorum and we don't have anybody zooming in yet. So we can't go ahead and approve minutes. The next thing that we can give is the algae bloom update, which I do have. I was going to read the paragraph with the actual identification and enumeration data from GZA. So what they send is the data are attached here and provide further confirmation that the scum consisted of green algae. Bruce, who is Bruce Wagner, that's their taxonomist. Bruce counted Spirogyra as the dominant group with some, I don't know how to pronounce this, Mugiatia. And diatoms were abundant and there were low numbers of cyanobacteria and a specific one, Crococcus, which are not a concern. So there we go. That's what happened. And then he goes on and he's, as has it already advised, as Mike Buffoni talked about in the last meeting, he has sent some links for them to look up the probe. So one thing, if we had had a quorum, I was going to suggest that we vote on a couple of things. And one was that issue that obviously we would approve the purchase of a probe so that we can immediately go out, test it. If it turns out it's just blue-green algae, then okay, we know we're good. So alarms don't have to go out when they don't need to. And the other thing that Pat
We
Canelli.
should formally recommend that to the town.
The select board.
And, we're all going to, I'm going to support it, so, yeah.
Yeah, nobody's going to, I think, disagree. And then the other thing that came up in the last meeting, and you weren't here, was Pat Canelli was here in person, and she brought up the concern about having a communications protocol, a standard protocol. And that's not just about algae blooms. That's about any big event that happens on the lake, like the harvester overturning. So that makes a lot of sense. If it happens to be algae related, then that would be coming through from the Board of Health because that's under their purview. And if not, if it's like the harvester, then presumably it would be the town administrator where that would be originating from. It that we should have a standard procedure and have everyone be notified that should be notified, including the associations around the lake.
And I did that last time.
Yeah.
The day we heard, I did reach out to the presidents of all 7 associations and gave them a heads up, but we should have that as standard part for the
A
town.
standard
I think,
procedure.
I think, yeah, Roxanne, are you saying, what I think you're saying is that there should be one voice saying,
One point.
whether, that we don't know yet what it is. We're just letting you know that there's an issue.
Is an advisory.
Rather than a final verdict right away from,
Right.
right.
To not cause alarm.
Another thing we want to consider is that we ought to.
It's going to be hard to
We
do
have a
that.
list, and we can expand this list of events that will trigger this.
Right.
Like, for instance, last year we had a boat sunk, a power boat with gas and oil and all that
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
And I went out there, tried to tow it in, it was impossible. So I came down here and protocol was to notify the state, to let them know that there was potential for a leak.
Right.
So, I mean, things like this, we should be cataloging and have easy
Right.
access, not just have it in my mind.
No,
How did the
exactly.
boat sink? I just was curious.
There was some structural problems with the boat.
Because, like when they bring these cars in and they fall into the lake or whatever, I really think, was there a fine? Was there something? I mean, you're really dumping toxic waste.
It was
Into a lake.
totally unintentional. Boats do sink.
I know, that's why I'm asking if it was like from partying or from, yeah.
Well, and it's
They
similar.
had just had some work done on it, put a new
Yeah.
bilge pump in. And what happened was it disturbed something. There was some rot down there and the rot let loose and the boat.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's certain responsibilities.
Well, they got it out and there was no spills.
Okay, good.
I mean,
Okay.
the harvester overturning is another example of where
Yeah.
the state has to be notified.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
for various categories, you need to have a standardized protocol and your one point of contact that's going to disseminate that information. Here's your list of people in priority order of who you contact. Because I can tell you this time, I didn't know talking about this for 2 days and sending information to GZA and talking to Mike Buffoni and Michael Canales, I didn't know that the Board of Health had ordered that test. So I was just concerned that, are we both doing parallel things here? Because, you know.
I think we should include Patty Kaya and Carol Owens on the plan, because between them, they have over 1,000 actual email addresses.
Right, that's where,
Yeah, and Carol Owens and the paper and whomever.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a whole list. Yeah.
Just get
Right.
somebody who can talk to her, that's all.
And I know, and obviously the SBA has all the contact information for all the associations. And like you said, Patty Kaya's got a huge email.
Right, but I think,
so.
Charles Kenny, do that, Charlie. I do think that right away, in terms of like because it'll take anybody to write something up sometime, but I think that the association presidents should come from you or from Michael, where it's only 7, just letting them know that for them to post something in their communities, because they all have emailers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what we talked about in the last meeting.
Yeah.
So basically, that's the other thing that, what we can't vote on that too. But I think that's also advice that we should just pass along to the select board. And then if you would like this group to work on that, we could create a little subgroup to work on it. Or the select board decides, you want to set up a separate little committee to work on that particular
Yeah, I think
project.
we should work on it and,
you should, this is a perfect example where the Board of Health, where you're saying the Board of Health wasn't communicating with you of what they were doing on the lake.
Well, I'm not blaming the Board of Health.
No, it's not a
I was
blame.
just surprised because I was in constant communication for 2 days with Mike Canales and he didn't mention that to me. So,
No, this is not a blame thing. I'm just trying to get an order of that we should really have a meeting maybe with the Board of Health. Whatever, that anything happens on the lake, you really got to communicate. They got to communicate with you. I mean, make them aware that this is a partnership.
it isn't just the SBSC. The point that Pat was making is that there needs to be a standard protocol. And like Gary just pointed out, it needs to be a written protocol so that when you have any kind of event, you look it up, the category of.
No, I understand that.
Algae, here's the point of contact. Board of Health is responsible. If it's a boat sinking or the harvester flipping over, here's the point of contact, and it's probably going to be the town administrator. And here are all the people you need to be contacting in order. Because obviously police, fire, the dive team.
We're talking about the lake.
Primarily.
We're talking about the lake here.
Primarily
But
in the state, because when you talk about a hazardous spill, potentially, which was the case with the harvester, it turned out to be fine, but they have to be there. So it's just a matter of creating protocols that make it easier and more efficient.
I think
To communicate.
I think this process should stay here, I don't think, my suggestion would be to, develop it. Yeah.
what? I can't hear you.
So my suggestion would be to develop it here, not bump it up. I think that the best chance of this actually getting done is this group right here.
What I'm trying to get to. So I'm just saying, maybe you want to just meet with probably the 2 most important people that are you and Board of Health that overlook the lake.
Well, in Tri-Town.
And try, okay.
But it doesn't have to be just necessarily me. I'm saying we.
No.
Tri-Town's too distant. I mean, they're not involved every day, they have other things that they're involved in.
No, but
I think we're getting off the
We should
subject.
notify them, but I think the Board of Health, is the clear.
right, but Tri-Town is the one who puts out advisories.
Right.
So obviously they've got to be included.
Oh, yeah.
And particularly if we get this probe, I mean, I think that will color, what happens here. And can cut down on the amount of communication you have to do, because if you can determine that this is harmless and benign.
I think there was a semi-little mini panic going on with this thing. And when I took out Mike Buffoni, you were with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the first minute he looked at it, he goes, I don't think this is,
Right.
I mean, he even said, he did it with his hands. He said,
And GZA.
yeah, he says, I don't think this is something to worry about.
Texted pictures
Yeah.
right then and there, and Ben got back.
And I can understand that.
And Ben is getting back and saying it looks just like it's green algae,
Yeah.
but, obviously, we got the samples. They went in.
Right. The other thing I'm going to say is I think it's a great idea of hiring Fred every once in a while to use him with the whatever the aircraft,
Drone?
Yeah.
the drone.
Pretzel, Nick.
Yeah, Nick. I'm sorry. Did I say Fred? I meant Nick. Thank you. Yeah. Like I was with him when we were doing it. It's not easy to see because of the sun, whatever, what was what. I mean, he told me from the heat coming off.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he said his machine, it's like $12,000 machine. The thing weighs a ton. I mean, this is like an aircraft. And he was saying that he could tell the difference between them, even though you couldn't visually because of the reflective, but he could tell by the heat of lilies versus the heat of the algae. It has a heat sensing thing on it also,
Ultraviolet then, yeah.
or whatever, I don't know. Right. And then when we get to the harvester, we'll discuss that. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, that's the story with that.
Taking stuff off the harvester. It's gonna start.
Do we have an update on the harvester?
Yeah, we do. We've gone out twice. I took Stu out. He's going to be great. He's been going around on his boat and he says milfoil type of thing where around the big part sort of hasn't roared its ugly head yet.
Really?
In terms of really for the harvester, he says, but behind the island, the lilies, of course, they come out
They always-
at the end of May.
Right.
So I've been going with him twice and I made a suggestion. It's interesting driving both the big one and the small one. The small one is much faster, but I suggested to him that he not fill it more than 60%.
Yeah.
Keep the back down.
Oh, that without a doubt. That was the first thing I did was I showed him where the up and I said, this one, stays down. Don't. And also what the issue was a little bit was it was also filled with silt and the heaviness of the silt and it being up. And that was just a mistake. That was not,
Going out this weekend?
I apologize.
Are you going to go out this weekend or today?
Yeah, well, I was thinking of it. We went out on Monday or Tuesday and
If you go out and you have a spare seat, I would like to accompany sometime.
okay, yeah, no, I'll call you, yeah. I'm not sure. I know it's going to rain this afternoon, like at 3 or something. I don't know if that was the weather thing. But anyway, you can see that the small machine has plenty of room. I thought it might not have enough room after using the big one, but it has plenty of room. But you can see it's not as steady because it's narrower. So 60%, I said, is plenty. I mean, we made a nice path in the outlet and only did 60% of the bed and it was fine.
All the way down now toward the end?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Are you gonna empty it pretty soon? Because
Oh, it's emptied every time.
it's been full for about a week now.
No, what happened was we went out on Monday or Tuesday. I let apparently he didn't see the text. So I called him on Wednesday and he said, Michael, I'm gonna empty it on Thursday. It was emptied yesterday.
Because I was there Wednesday. I didn't.
Yeah. But it was emptied. I went yesterday and it was totally empty just to
So the
check it out.
lilies don't jam up the track.
No, it's perfect. It works perfect. The other thing is, last year I did it at the end of September, when they don't grow back. And it really made a difference.
Yeah.
It really made a difference. Now, I don't know if I wanted it to make a difference, so I see a difference, if it's the placebo effect. But I really think it made a difference of how long it took for where I did
Go back, yeah.
in September. That was the last place the lilies sort of came back. And in many places, it's come back much thinner. So I'm hoping this year in September
Yeah.
that you will allow me to do that at the end of September, beginning of October.
Well, one of the key points when we were harvesting for all these years was to get biomass out of the water because it's next year's food.
Yeah. No, that's the other thing is I wanted to do it when they don't grow back.
Yeah.
So those don't go back in.
Michael, I think we should just have a policy developed about when this board wants harvesting to continue until, and we can inform our excellent town workers of what that policy is rather than the other way around.
Well, we did
Yeah.
that last year.
Yeah.
Basically,
I-
this decision was made last
Yeah,
year, so I don't see
Yeah.
a reason why we just don't continue, but we could
Yeah.
codify it.
So what happened was in the former years, I always wanted to do that, but they took Len or whatever, took the harvester out right after Labor Day.
Right.
So Hugh thankfully said, no, because he also wanted me to clear it out for the Josh Billings.
Right.
Which is in mid-September. So I go, perfect, I'll do that, but let's just keep it in a couple of weeks more.
Right.
And it makes a difference.
Yeah,
we have a
but
trailer
you're going out for the Josh anyway.
Oh, yeah, we have a town trailer.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We don't,
Do you know how much it costs to bring the big one? Just curious, how much that is? Is it like $4,000
What?
to bring the big one in?
It's, the flatbed is something like that, 4 or 5.
Like 2,000 each way or something like that? Yeah, just curious.
Anyway, okay. Water chestnut remediation, I haven't gotten any updates. Have you noticed if they're still out there?
No, I didn't even notice that they were out there.
Okay, we're gonna have to get them.
We haven't delayed
You
during
gotten
the,
anything?
I haven't heard anything, but
But it was delayed because of this.
it was delayed slightly, but I thought
Slightly.
that he picked it up, but, we should check on that,
Yeah,
I would think.
I've asked the inspectors to, especially on the weekend when kayakers go out, if they can let us know if they see any, and we have pictures of them down in the shed down there.
right.
So nothing yet.
Good. That's good. Okay, and public awareness and education, I have nothing to give an update on in terms of that because I've been busy, so.
Do you know when the Beechwood meeting is, the annual Beechwood? Patrick, would you know?
I think it's the Beechwood was toward Labor Day. White Pines,
Oh, it's-
July 2nd.
They have one July 4th weekend, I think.
I don't know. Because I know you're talking at ours, right? You're coming to Lake Drive.
Yeah, that's like mid-July, isn't it?
14th or something, yeah.
It's Bastille Day. Ça va, I'll practice my French.
Please.
Okay. All righty. So, any other updates? You got any updates?
Yeah, I've got a question for you. Does this board want to weigh in on issues of our largest feeder pond, Lily Pond? Lily Pond's approximately 25 acres, depending upon which map you look at and how the beaver activity is. There's Michael and Kate Fletcher and I met with the developer of Elm Court to get a preliminary indication of what the plan is. And one of the questions came up was whether or not the town's position would be to encourage public access via their road. And this goes to the heart of, it's never been designated as a great pond, but as over 10 acres, it could be designated if there were public access. There's also questions of, silting and all the other things, but because it all comes directly from there down to there, I didn't have an answer for the developer, but I don't know that it's something that should either not be here or the Concom. And so I just wanted to bring up the fact that this is an ongoing discussion. And if this board has a position or wants to get involved, I think it would be great.
Lily Pond?
Elm Court has a frontage on Lily Pond.
Okay.
So basically Old Stockbridge Road, the Lily Pond has two sets of frontage. One is on Wheatley Drive and the other is on Old Stockbridge Road.
I would
usable as a lake?
assume if Sally were here, she would say.
I don't even know.
Kind of shallow and mucky around.
There's
I
nothing.
have that.
I don't-
I just figured,
Okay.
it's,
I think we have enough on our plate. I think Concom would do better with
Yeah.
that.
But what do they want to do with the Lily Pond? Do they want to use it as a recreational area or?
it's not
They have to go through.
They have frontage. I'm sure that they'll do something. And they've got to go through the right permitting. All that's not really the question.
No, that's what I'm asking, why they.
Whether we want, my question really is, do we want a second Great Pond? Because we could get it. But to do that, we would need to provide a way for public access, which is something that potentially could be negotiated.
That's a major issue, don't you
I
think?
know. I'm not advocating. I'm bringing it up because it's.
Well, why would you want to make it a great pond? I mean, what would be the advantage of doing that?
Because for 100 years, locals have fished on it. And they used to go through the old water. There used to be a private water company that was there. And because it was an easement, folks literally going back generations, now trespass on that and fish, and
It's not trespassing if they've been doing it for, I think it's 20 years or more.
Yeah, tell that to the property owner who I know.
Legally, no, legally,
I understand. I'm just saying that,
legally, they can continue doing it.
Doing what?
Crossing property, if there has been a common path
Right.
that's been used, even if it's over private property, and it's been maintained, and I think it's a 20-year period or more, then that can continue, and that property owner cannot stop that from happening. Yeah, it's not legal. People have tried to and put up fences, and they've been ordered by the court that they have to.
the other issue is, the other issue is just that you've got 22 acres that was donated to the town that has some frontage from Wheatley Drive, but that has approximately half a mile frontage on the pond that the town owns, but it's inaccessible to the public. And, and just the general thought that, that on the assessor's map, nobody owns it. So if the state owns it or the town owns it, it maybe is something to figure out. And then there's the philosophical question of should the public have access to public waterways or land or whatever.
Well, I mean, if the town owns frontage, then obviously the town could decide to provide access, number one. But number two, there's this existing law that people could continue.
Why would we, hardly anybody uses it. It's so mucky around the outside of that. I mean, if we were to put in public access, that would be.
It's one more thing, and one more problem.
Yeah, it would be
deal
a
with.
big expense. We'd have to keep it up and it's probably going to be difficult.
I'm not suggesting we do it. In fact, I in the real time, I cautioned against it. So I'm just saying, but it's not up to me. I think that these are good questions for the town to discuss and consider because, it came up, and I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
It's big water. It's the number one feeder for the lake,
But your initial question about the development, I think that's best handled by Conservation Commission. Obviously, the regulatory agency, they're going to deal with it. They're going to have to be in compliance and I don't.
Well, all that is.
Gary said, we have
true.
enough on our plate here.
But public access issues are not,
Public access doesn't even have that on their map probably.
I meant public access as a philosophy.
That's a separate issue though.
Yeah, that's what I brought up here.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a separate issue.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have to
I think there's
create,
going to be a lot of work in little game.
yeah, I think it's, particularly since the law does support people, if they've always gone, if it's this kind of behavior has been going on for 20 years or more, of people walking in there to fish, number one, they're legally protected to continue doing that. Number two, the other conversation that you could have is with the developers, say, or the new owners, will you allow it? Just have that conversation.
what
And
if
that,
what
they
if there
might be
was-
very amenable to that.
Is that going forward, that project?
I spent 8 million on it. I assume so.
Well, people spend millions on properties.
I can't say. I'm not a developer. I'm just the guy who's, yeah.
Maybe the developers would want to put a public access, a ramp or something like that in there.
Oh, that's a whole separate consideration. I was talking about the water that is not owned by.
Right.
I was talking.
How big a pond is that?
25,
It's about 22 acres.
23 acres?
kind of small.
Yeah, I've never, I'm going to admit, I don't think I've ever physically gone to it.
It's beautiful. We should go in the winter.
Yeah.
Next time the winter freezes.
Okay.
There a lot of fishing up there?
I mean, is that like it, is that,
It's got a deep portion that's about 40 feet. And then so it's fantastic bass fishing. Oh, yeah.
you know, like I think the town needs, I think the town could use like a public ice skating thing. I always thought the end of the Stockbridge Bowl where the dam is, like in the winter, it used to be a swimming hole.
Yeah.
Years ago, Stu was telling me he used to go back there when he was a kid. You probably went back there. My friend would rent from 1966. He rented right there and they would go swimming off the rope there. And
The tree came down.
What? The tree, oh yeah, but the concept was that it was a swimming hole and it's a public place, there's parking.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah, let's focus on that end, not the other. Yeah.
Right. Well, I just think for the town, it's a great for kids to come to. and have let's go ice skating. And it's a perfect round bowl, little bowl that
Which one?
Oh,
Right down
Oh,
there.
down to your end.
all the way, where
I know.
Lake Drive.
I wasn't sure if you're still talking about Lake Pond. I know.
Yeah, Lake Drive South is a town road.
Yeah, plus it's easy to get to. too.
Right, it doesn't interfere with, there won't be any issues with Lake Drive Association because it's not part of it.
no, although, because when I was on the board and we talked a little bit about, we used to have ice skating at Park Street. And that used to
Right,
be
well-
flooded where the skate park is now. And there used to be ice skating there.
Right.
But I mean, then it's okay, but you got the skate park there. But one big thing that Mike Canales brought up is liability.
Speaking of weather,
I can't.
have we started to get year over year trend data for water temperature?
Really.
Well,
I think Mike may be keeping them.
I'm sure that Mike has it.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they're doing Secchi and water.
The reason I bring up water is because there was no ice this year on the bowl. And so I assume the water temperature is higher because there was no ice cube to keep it cooler. And just because that it can be an indication for cyanobacteria, the reason I think we might want to just understand if the water is significantly warmer than normal. I don't know if it would be, well, I do know because I'd asked Hugh. Hugh said it would be pretty easy to add a couple inches of depth to the lake if we wanted to. And because that rain would have a cooling effect on the lake, we might want to consider 2 or 3 or 4 inches of additional level via the dam.
Yeah, you weren't here last week,
Yeah.
but Mike Buffoni, when we were talking about communications and having protocols, the other thing that he did bring up, and it's in the minutes, I think, was having a protocol in terms of, and it's not so much just the temperature, it's the thermocline change.
Yeah.
We know where the cyanobacteria is, and it's in the deepest part of the lake. We
Right.
know what depth it's at. And so what's really gets alarming is when your thermocline starts.
And does cold water help keep that low?
And so, but he had talked about, we should have a protocol of, what are our actions when we see a thermocline change? Because that could be the first indication that there may be an impending.
Can anyone do anything about this?
And so I think that's a whole other topic that we have
I
to
think we
talk
should do
about.
it
as a
soon.
group.
I think we should talk about this soon. Because we have experts that are on, that we're paying, and I'm just saying, because there was no ice this year, if
How would-
these temperature issues,
How would he raise the level of
it's a board up.
where the waterfall is?
And
Yeah.
just push it up a little bit. And we-
But the other thing is,
The number of-
I've been saying for,
Height really not
I've been
gonna
saying
work.
for a few years, and I really tried to, and maybe you can. Hugh really has, unless he did it, and I just don't know, really should open and close that gate to make sure that thing is working, because it's been closed for now 3 years, basically. And these machineries, they freeze, they whatever it is, but you want to know that you can open it and close it. So I don't know who would,
I think you brought this up before.
I brought it up for a while because growing up in a factory.
Mike Buffoni might have said, no, we've gone out. And we've.
Oh, yeah?
I
Well,
thought he did say that, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
we can follow up.
yeah.
Don't you
I mean,
have,
if he did, great.
don't you have a key?
I think they have it down at the garage.
Yeah, they should have it.
There's two.
They should do it.
Yeah.
Right.
We're too old.
Keys to the city?
Yeah,
It's a
they should have 3 of them. I bought 2 of them.
Yeah.
I gave it to the town.
It's a 3/4 inch square drive.
Yeah.
All righty. Anything from you, Gary? Any updates?
No, things are going well at the boat ramp.
Yeah.
How's the dredging going? Have we made gotten anything from GZA or
I
anything?
haven't heard anything, no. There's another prod.
Right.
What is it what's our next?
Well,
get
the
a
next
chance,
steps,
you run a
Pat and I
couple
talked about
classes
it,
off
so
the
we were
boat.
talking about, she was gonna put together a meeting.
Sure.
And we would get
There's a
the
couple
working
people
group
who said that
together.
They were
Okay.
out there swimming and they really got tangled.
Well, it
It's
depends.
apparently, it's like, well, we're not having a meeting.
By the boat
It's
ramp.
happening, well, why is nothing?
Oh, it's easy for me. It's right there.
Yeah.
No,
problem.
things could be happening right now.
Could
I may take it out before the rain this afternoon.
Yeah, so we'll
down
let
there.
you know, but I haven't
Down
heard back
at
from her.
12.
Oh, you there?
Yeah.
It was 2 weeks ago.
What's it?
She's in Ireland.
I'll go out with you for a
Oh,
couple.
she's in Ireland again? All righty, so
Go in the water and get over it.
are we all
Done?
set?
South,
Okay, I'm gonna move to
Roxanne,
adjourn.
thank you.
So,
Weeks.
Adjourning at 8:35. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, in 2 weeks from now?
So are we off the video?
We are going to meet next. It should be, what did we say? First and third Fridays of the
Hi,
month.
John Lange, so do you want to,
John just showed
Hey, by the way, I would like to thank you. This is probably my last meeting. Jamie is asked to become the select board rep and was voted in last night. So
You mean the Stockbridge Bowl rep?
Stockbridge Stewardship Commission rep.
Right.
And SBA. She's taking over for Chuck and taking over for me.
Uh-huh.
Hi, John. Oh, you're muted.
Are we still on?
Haircut.
Video?
You're muted. I
Oh, yeah,
didn't
we
stop
didn't-
it
we
yet.
didn't
I
stop
didn't
it.
cancel.
Oh,
Sorry that I've gotten late.
Well, we were just wrapping up because we didn't have a quorum.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Do you have anything you want to vote on minutes?
right, we can do the
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, if you're here, we could vote on approving the June 9th, 2023 minutes if you've had a chance to see them. Look at them.
Yeah, I did see them. So, yeah, I make a motion that we approve them.
I do too. Second.
All right, a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Matt Stan was in here.
Oh, then we don't have a quorum.
Oh, yes, you do.
Oh,
You have a
yeah, we do.
quorum.
You're
Yeah.
abstaining. Okay. All righty. Thank you. We got that done anyway.
John, you can go home now.